Hey everyone, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Justin, and wow, what a difference 24 hours can make. Just like most of Leafs Nation today, feeling a very different opinion about the current Toronto Maple Leaf state from after day one of free agency, because the Leafs signed Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi, Dylan Gambrell as well, but that's like kind of a minor deal. So I think the sequence of events changes everything. If the Leafs came out and, first thing they did was sign Max Domi, I think fans would have loved that. And then they go out and sign John Klingberg, fans would have even loved that more. Then we go out and sign Tyler Bertuzzi, and everybody's loving life. And then we fill the roster out with Ryan Reeves. Everybody would be like, wow, Ryan Reeves, what an addition to this already stacked cast. But instead, the way it went down, it was just a sequence of events. Starting off with Ryan Reeves, it was kind of like starting on that low point, like, really, this is the target. Then John Klingberg, it's like, okay, is that our big splash? We didn't know what was yet to come with the signings of Bertuzzi and Domi, specifically the two players that I did mention twice in yesterday's video. So clearly, they were targets that I personally was interested in. And here we are. We got them both on one-year deals, which is my only knock against the deals. It's just that it's 1 year. I understand the situation, obviously. I'm already fearful that we're going to lose these players after 1 year of being a Leaf, but I can't think that way. It's going to be a fun year with these guys on the roster. It's the reality of the situation. People are going to be coming to the Leafs specifically to boost their value for when the cap comes up. They'll go in free agency, and hopefully we can re-sign them, but it will come at a heftier price than what we got them at for today. But immediately, the depth that I was talking about yesterday, my biggest reflection on day one of free agency was that, we addressed some areas, but the scoring depth is gone. And we took a step backwards in our scoring depth from last year, and all of a sudden, in my opinion, that's been reversed. It's not completely fixed. I still think that there's work to be done. We know that the Leafs aren't done because as it sits right now, we're $8 million over the salary cap. Still have Jake Muzzin's $5.5 million to go on LTIR. We don't know the situation with Matt Murray. Is he getting bought out? Is he getting traded? Is he just going to be on LTIR for the rest of the contract? That would open up the cap space. But we can't do those moves until the regular season starts, which means we need to make sure we're cap compliant throughout the summer. So when we're trying to get a deal for Ilya Samsonov, that's another probably $3 to $4 million that's going to be on the book. That's going to make us not cap compliant. So we know another deal is coming sooner than later to get that all figured out. Unless ultimately we aren't re-signing Samsonov, then at the end of the day, still moves to be done. And still work to be done on the forward group, but this is a huge step forwards. I think Tyler Bertuzzi is the kind of player that we've desperately needed in our top six. It's the kind of, we haven't had a perfect left winger stick into our top six since Zach Hyman. And even then, it was like Zach Hyman did a really, really good job with the role, but if we're looking for additional scoring, we could have had someone maybe fit that role a little bit better. But since then, we've had now the emergence of Matthew Knies, but that wasn't a guarantee until last year's playoffs came around. So Tyler Bertuzzi fits in perfectly. He's either going to fit on that first line or that second line. We don't know how it's going to shake out. All I know is he's going to fit in really, really well. He had a really strong showing with some of the top six players in Boston. I think it's going to be a seamless transition into Toronto. He's going to bring that grit, that feistiness. I think he's going to mesh really well with the likes of an Austin Matthews, so that Matthew Knies can maybe stick with John Tavares. So many options. That's, at the end of the day, we've got options. If we wanted, the Leafs could literally throw Max Domi at third line center, Tyler Bertuzzi as his left winger, and those two guys are two guys that can score on your third line and beat you up and punch you in the face and intimidate you. And you keep the top six with, Matthews, Marner, and Knies, and Tavares, Nylander, and you could even throw Yarncroke up there. You've got versatility now, you've got depth, and that is the biggest thing we've needed so far. We've got more guys than just the top four that can put the puck in the net. Max Domi's good for 20 to 30 goals in a year, 30 obviously being a very ambitious number, but if he's playing in the top six with those big guys, or if we have injuries and he's stepping up in there, it's not out of the question. He is an offensively talented player, and I think he's going to really enjoy playing in Toronto, obviously somewhere that probably has been on his radar for his entire career. It's been a rumor for however many years. I can't wait to see him. Ty Domi was my favorite Leaf growing up. I have a signed jersey personalized to me, spoke to him on the phone. It was like the greatest thing I could have had as like a 7-year-old Justin, to have that guy to look up to. It was Ty Domi, honestly. So to have his son Max on the team, I'm hoping he wears number 28 like everybody's been talking about, but it's currently owned by Sam Lafferty, so if he's going to be on the roster next year, they need to do some moving around with the numbers. But man, it's good news right now. I saw someone put it in a really, really good way earlier. You've got Kerfoot, Hall, who was it? It was Kerfoot, Hall, and Bunting out. Klingberg, Bertuzzi, and Domi in. And I think they are direct comparables, each of those players, where each of the Leafs that we just brought in are an improvement, in my opinion. Klingberg, I think we're still, as a whole, pretty down on. Like, I think that this guy is going to be better for the Leafs than a lot of people anticipate. The Leafs have always been looking for that big right-handed man to be in the top 4 defensive group that can participate offensively, and that's exactly what Klingberg is. Obviously, he's got his defensive warts, but the guy's going to be important for the Leafs. I think he's going to have a really good season. He's going to fit in really well with what this team's identity is. He's, again, one of those players that's not going to get pushed around. He's not that kind of guy. He's a little feisty. He can push back. And if you're looking at Justin Hall at $2 million, who, again, was not strong defensively. Yes, he was a penalty kill expert, but he didn't have the offensive upside to make up for his defensive warts. John Klingberg at $2 million, a little bit over $2 million more, makes up for it and then some. He's going to slot immediately into your top 4. He's not going to be, whatever he gives up defensively, I think he's going to make up offensively. Plus, with the system that the Leafs have had, where they've been trying to improve defensively, I think he's going to take a step in the right direction on that end as well. So Klingberg, upgrade on Hall. We all agree on that. We all know that. I think Bunting, upgrade with Bertuzzi. They're both that kind of feisty player. They're both a guy that is going to produce offensively and fit in with that top 6. But Michael Bunting is more of that like average player that doesn't have that flair, that offensive, real high level skill. Not to take anything away from Bunting. I absolutely love the guy, but Bertuzzi does have the skill to fit with that top 6 group with the Leafs. Not to mention the fact that Bunting lost his way with the refs. He couldn't buy a call. He was that kind of grit that we needed, but he was the only one doing it, and he did it in the wrong way. He didn't have the best approach, and it often took him into the penalty box. I think Bertuzzi's the kind of guy that is going to have the refs' favor. He's not going to be embellishing. He's going to drag the Leafs into a fight, but he's not going to be, penalizing them to the extent that Michael Bunting was. So Michael Bunting obviously was on a really team-friendly contract last year at $950,000. Now he's at 4.5. We got Bertuzzi at 5.5. If you were to compare the 4.5 and 5.5, Bertuzzi at that number, I think, is a better fit for the Leafs and is going to be more impactful on the top 6. And then Domi and Kerfoot, very comparable players. Kerfoot was making 3.5, and now we're paying Domi $3 million. So we saved $500,000, except for the fact that Domi is the exact same Swiss Army kind of player. But Kerfoot really couldn't establish himself anytime he got into the top 6, or even when he was playing center in a depth role. We didn't love him at center, and maybe we don't love Domi at center either, but I think Domi is more capable of playing center when we need him to, and joining the top 6 when we need him to. We know he's got the experience playing with Mitch Marner with the London Knights, so they do have a connection there. I don't foresee them deliberately playing Domi with Marner on a consistent basis, but we know that if Domi were to slot in with the top 6, we've seen what he's done with other star players. He's played with Tyler Seguin in Dallas. He's played with Patrick Kane in Chicago. He's played with these high-level players, and he's produced successfully in those roles. So with Alex Kerfoot, he was that Swiss Army player that could slot into the top 6, but really, really, you did not want him there. He was not a strong fit there. He was just kind of like that player that you can put there without being a liability. I think Domi's going to be much more appropriate. He's going to be a third-line player, but when you want that add a little bit extra into the top 6, he's going to be able to slot in much better there and fit really well with our top 6. So to take a $500,000 pay cut over what Kerfoot was making, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. I love the moves. I think that I'm what most Toronto Maple Leafs fans are feeling right now. It's a huge step in the right direction. Brad Treliving, well done. Really, really good work here. Still work to be done. I'd be very interested to see what happens with, again, the Matt Murray situation, the Samsonov situation, what's going on with Nylander. If they're still far apart, are we considering a trade at this point? In which case, this team's going to look even more different than it already is. But really, really enjoying the moves that are taking place so far. I would say that we're probably done in free agency, other than maybe a couple low-end ads that are probably going to be Toronto Marlies. Again, the only knock against these contracts is that they're one-year deals, but clearly the Leafs are trying to remain extremely flexible for when Matthews and Nylander contracts kick in 1 year. They want as much money available on the books as possible, and with the likes of Bertuzzi, Klingberg, and Domi, plus others that are already on the roster coming off the books, it gives us a lot of flexibility to be able to pay Matthews and Nylander what they want. Not to say that I want to just throw the book at them and give them exactly what they want, but it does give us flexibility so that we know we can keep these players should we want to, and hopefully everything goes smoothly with these new additions on the roster for next year, and that they want to stay long term and we can come to some sort of resolution for a longer term extension, because I really like the fit. Obviously haven't seen any of the action so far. We haven't seen the eye test, but on paper, team's looking really good. And even though I said yesterday I was really down in the dumps and I didn't like it compared to last year's team, I really like it. I really like the way that this team is now shaping up to be. It's crazy what one day can do. So we still have a lot more of the summer to figure out what this team's going to look like before training camp. I look forward to seeing exactly how that shakes out. You let me know what you think of the two deals that we've seen so far, what more needs to be done. But I think Leaf Nation is all on the same page. We're optimistic. We're happy. We needed a change. This is a really good step in the right direction, and can't wait to see what happens next. So thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I'll see you in the next one.